Story 1. Every day, everywhere he went, people whispered to each other and laughed while making brief eye contact, making it clear they were making fun of him. He was a narcissist. Story 2. People treat you exactly how you treat them, day in and day out. The only sweet revenge would be karma catching up with them for the rest of their lives. Story 3. Every time they use the restroom, it feels like they are using a crayon instead of toilet paper because it takes numerous wipes to feel clean. Story 4. Being interrupted while speaking with no one listening to their input and witnessing others repeat their contributions while taking credit consistently. Story 5. Biting the inside of their lip. Then just as it is about to heal, they bite it again. In perpetuity, forever. Story 6. To always be overdressed or underdressed for the weather. If it is cold outside and they need a sweater or gloves, they forget them. If it is too hot and they want to wear shorts, their sweater magically reappears, and they have to wear it along with thermal clothing. Story 7. Every time they tried to drink something, they spilled it on themselves and someone would comment on it. Story 8. Wow, some of these seem to have missed the slight part of the question. As for me, never again will they be able to crack an egg without the yolk bursting. Story 9. Back pain can be annoying, not debilitating. Similar to a constant low roar that makes it difficult to put on socks or perform activities that require bending. Story 10. No matter how much he shakes off or waits, 1 tablespoon of urine slips out after he walks out of the bathroom every time, regardless of where or when. Story 11. 1 monstrous sneeze per day, chosen by the majority of people, produces a large wet booger that hits the most important person in the room. Story 12. Their voice would be gone, so they wouldn't be able to talk. They love to talk. The less that creep says, the better. Story 13. To you I hate the most. I hope that every day when you wake up, you step in a puddle with only your socks on. When you go to have your daily smoke, I hope your lighter never lights. There's too little toilet paper in the bathroom after a big number 2. And there's never enough sugar for your coffee. I hope your takeout arrives ice cold, and whatever food you make for yourself tastes as terrible as you act. Lastly, I hope you live a long life with no one by your side. I want you to feel the crippling loneliness you caused me to feel for 19 years multiplied by 2. I usually strongly believe everyone deserves happiness, but you, as usual, you're the only exception. Story 14. Whatever card they use for payment at any store, they will initially encounter a technical error that forces them to pay in cash or use another card. As this occurs repeatedly, people will perceive them as being bad with money due to the rejected payments. Story 15. If we can consider this a slight inconvenience and a crime against humanity. Every day, someone steps on a Lego with their bare foot. The pain is one thing, but day after day, they sweep their house, ensuring a Lego-free zone. Day after day, a Lego lies in wait, ready to attack. Story 16. Their new artificial intelligence orders and pays for food for me without them knowing. The intelligence is smart enough to keep this a secret as revenge. Story 17. Every morning, Elon Musk would wake up to find that, even though he is the richest person in the world, he is often inconvenienced by extra long wait times. Waiting for the elevator, at 10 seconds for the car to arrive. Trying to get on the phone with Donald Trump? Please hold an additional minute. Red lights? They always stay red a few seconds longer than they should. Downloads? Booting up a computer? Sending a text? Making a call? He has to wait longer for everything. Story 18. Having car key gnomes take their keys every night to generate profit because taking car keys leads to profits. Story 19. No matter how much styling they put into it, their hair would always part in a way that revealed their bald spot. Story 20. Great question. A handful of tiny microaggressions. First, that person drops something from the fridge every day. Second, they trip over their own shoes daily, and so on. Just tiny little things that add up. Story 21. Everything they do that requires waiting feels just long enough to test their patience. Waiting to pay for groceries? The cashier and an elderly woman are chatting. At the Costco gas station, the car in front is having trouble activating the pump. Ordered from McDonald's? They ran out of fries and need to prepare a new batch. Story 22. Having the worst body odor that nothing could mask. So when that princess walks through work, everyone responds with disgust, saying, "You, she stinks." Story 23. Spontaneous erections often occur at the most inconvenient times, while being unable to perform happens when the moment should be right. Getting in the elevator to work leads to an embarrassing situation. Picking up the kids at daycare presents another awkward moment. Your wife's sister greets you with a hug and kiss in front of your wife, resulting in yet another embarrassing situation. Hitting the beach brings about the same issue. Visiting the chiropractor leads to the same outcome. When your wife takes you to bed, you find yourself unable to perform. Even when your wife tries to be intimate, it results in a similar issue. Finally, when your wife's sister gets you alone, the situation remains unchanged. Story 24. Constant and perpetual kidney stones. I didn't realize it was a minor inconvenience. Paper cuts every time they use soap or hand sanitizer. Story 25. A large cystic pimple on his forehead is a medical mystery to doctors and dermatologists, and despite treatments, it will never go away. Therefore, his self-proclaimed attractive face will always have a prominent blemish as a focal point. Story 26. An itch so deep that there is no hope of relieving it, and it never goes away. Story 27. I believe having a constantly itchy sensation would be the perfect thing for my least favorite person. Story 28. Always having someone smarter and more sarcastic in the room than he is to humble him, because he needs it. Story 29. I would like them to just stink with bad breath wherever they go, just enough to ruin every interaction they ever have for the rest of their lives. Story 30. A tiny rock in their footwear. Not both, just one. No matter how many shoes they change, they never find that rock, and it always digs into their foot when they walk. Story 31. Give them a cancer scare by having a doctor call them every 2 to 3 weeks to say they need to run more tests before they can figure out the answer. They will never have it. Story 32. An itch in the groin area is not painful or severe, just enough that you have to scratch it, but the relief never lasts. You may be forever known as the person who is always touching themselves. Story 33. Losing the television remote or lighter every day means having to get up and throw couch cushions everywhere while shouting, "Where has that gone? I only had it 5 minutes ago." Then, not finding the item for another 5 minutes causes them to miss the first goal in the football match because they could not turn the television on in time. Story 34. Whenever people see an attractive person, feel surprised or happy, their eyes widen, their jaws drop, and they involuntarily yell, "Oh, woogaga." Story 35. Every time they put sugar in their tea, it is salt, and every time they needed salt, it is sugar. They work in a kitchen. Story 36. He would speak in a way that might not be taken seriously. Although he talks so much that it probably wouldn't make much difference, it was intended to be a minor inconvenience. Story 37. Ringing in her ears constantly, leaking a little after every urination, and experiencing non-stop premenstrual syndrome all day, every day. There is also never-ending diarrhea. I could continue, but it may only get worse. Story 38. They always forget the password to their social media accounts and have to recover them through their email daily. Even the paper with their passwords written down keeps getting misplaced. Story 39. Every time they are out on the road, they get stuck behind a horse box, even if it is just going to the local shop. Story 40. Persistent body odor. No amount of sprays or washing will eliminate it. It would be a personal and social nightmare. Story 41. Shoes are always untied. It's not that they automatically untie themselves, but after tying them up and reaching their destination, they become untied. People keep pointing it out until they are tied again. Story 42. Everyone gaslights her over everything, even small things like what is for dinner or what she is wearing. Story 43. Every conversation they have with someone, even themselves, is accompanied by a voice that speaks over the other person, growing louder the more they ignore it. They eventually reveal to the person they are speaking with that they psychologically, physically, or sexually abused a young boy, or, at the very least, contributed to that abuse by taking away or destroying everything the boy had, wanted, or dreamed of. All they hear is a reminder that they should not have gotten away with the abuse inflicted on that boy. They should not have exploited him or stolen his ideas and possessions. They used a child to find a way to harm others and evade consequences by destroying his life, killing his father, and harming his pets. Story 44. They emit an unpleasant odor, including breath and body scent. The smell would be apparent, an unavoidable stench that reaches you even from afar. Story 45. No matter where they shower or bathe, they can only get room temperature water with very low water pressure. Story 46. Every time they buy something, someone tells them how the one they have is so much better. It would be karma since she used to tell me this every time I purchased something for myself. Story 47. Anytime they try to acquire something, no matter the purchase or situation, they will always be a few dollars short with no way around it. Story 48. Always having not quite enough milk for their tea or coffee. Enough for a drop, but not as much as they like. This takes the joy of the perfect cup of tea or coffee from a 10 down to a 6. Story 49. Every time they accessed social media or anything requiring logins, they had to reset their passwords. Story 50. Always forgetting things. Every second of the day, he is thinking or talking about something. Story 51. Every alarm set would never go off. Not only would they be perpetually late, but they would also disrupt sleep because individuals would subconsciously be unable to stay asleep, waking constantly to check the time. Story 52. Their clothes never fit properly. Trousers seem to fall down, always when both hands are full, or alternatively rub and chafe their thighs all day. A hole in the big toe of their sock appears every day without fail, but their shoes are too tightly laced to remove easily. Their tops always have fabric that can grab and knit a single body hair. Story 53. Their phone would always be in the last place they looked. Later in life, this would change to their glasses. It will only take them a few minutes to find, which is enough to be annoying every time. I am not a monster. Story 54. Getting a cactus needle splinter every day at random places on the body can be quite uncomfortable. The hair-like needles are very fine but tough enough that you can feel them digging deeper the more you try to remove them. Story 55. Every time they pack things into a bag or their pockets, items keep falling out, requiring them to bend over repeatedly just to pick things up, only for them to fall to the floor again. Story 56. A visible booger flake flies out of their nose while talking to their love interest. Story 57. All their shoes spontaneously generate gravel. It doesn't matter if they are walking in the Arctic or on a ship. There is always gravel in the shoes. Story 58. There will always be something that feels like a grain of sand stuck under their eyelid, and no matter what they do, they cannot get it out. Story 59. A rock will magically appear in their shoe at an inconvenient time, such as when waiting in line at the checkout or walking among many people, making it difficult to stop. Story 60. Every time they try to put on trousers, pants, or underwear, they get the wrong leg hole. Story 61. To have the feeling of a hair stuck in their mouth that they just can't remove for 1 hour every day. It's the most inconvenient hour, like during an important work meeting, at a funeral, in a restaurant, or during a job interview. This really uncomfortable feeling is hard to ignore and is quite distracting. To spend several minutes searching for house keys, only to find them in plain sight in the first place they looked. This is especially frustrating if there is a dedicated spot where they always place their keys. Story 62. Every day, no matter how careful and thoughtful they were, they would stub their big toe. Always at the same time, even while sleeping, every day, forever. Story 63. The mute button always activates when he starts speaking in work meetings, and someone has to tell him, "You're on mute, Matt," every single time. Story 64. I don't wish to stoop to that level, but I would be at peace knowing they had a flat tire every day before work. Story 65. Every time they grab a cup or glass, it is dirty, so they have to grab a different one. Their seatbelt gets stuck each time they go to fasten it, like when you pull too hard and have to slowly release and pull again. Story 66. When they put on a pair of socks, they accidentally step in something wet with one foot before getting their shoes on. Story 67. An itch in the arch of the foot that cannot be scratched because the feet are extremely ticklish. Story 68. I can't decide between 1. A guaranteed paper cut every time he picks up anything paper thin, even with gloves. A small but significant amount of urine that would pool in his underwear every time he thinks he's done and pulls up his pants. Idiopathic and incurable. Currently leaning towards option 2. Story 69. So many people here are talking about him, and I want him treated like every woman from Generation X or older was treated in her 20s in the United States. If someone flirts with him, have them instantly lose interest because they responded too slowly or too quickly. If he gives an idea in a meeting, a woman would instantly repeat it and then receive credit for the idea. If he wants a promotion at work, label him too aggressive and remind him of the importance of also focusing on his family. At the same time, if his kids are sick, punish him for wanting to miss time from work to care for them. Make sure he knows he should be responsible for accumulating his own wealth. Get angry if he asks for equal pay compared to his other coworkers of equal pay and experience. Judge him if he buys a place to live without first being married. Tell him he is less desirable for marriage if he has no financial assets of his own. Comment on his clothes and appearance incessantly. Using sandwich statements, 2 negative comments with 1 positive in between is key. Make sure he knows he is very smart. Also, make sure he understands that this can rub others in the office the wrong way and is not a good thing. In essence, make sure he knows he is all right, but just not quite good enough for anything and everything, every single day for the rest of his life. Story 70. Dropping the cap to everything they open, such as toothpaste, gas caps, and water bottles, causes them to continually hit the floor and roll away. Story 71. Every time they take something out of their pocket or purse, it drops. It doesn't matter what it is or where they are, and the object is never permanently damaged, making it just annoying. So, taking your keys out, dropped every time. Phone taken out, dropped. It's not broken, but it can get soaked with rain or mud. Story 72. They must cycle through their keys twice to unlock anything, even if they have already used the correct key. Story 73. Every day, his heart grows weaker until it finally gives out under his body weight, and I feel a sense of disdain for him. I dislike this person intensely for several reasons. Story 74. He will slightly soil himself every time he farts. He will be forever chained to go into the bathroom to check. Story 75. Every time they try to log in, it states that their password needs to be changed, and they must enter the code that has been sent. However, the code never arrives. Story 76. Every morning, they stub their toe on something, like a bed leg, door frame, or chair. It's never enough to break anything, just enough to hurt for a bit. Alternatively, a belt loop or a piece of clothing gets caught on door handles every day. Story 77. Flashbacks of times they manipulated someone, falsified their involvement in traumatic events, lied about their behavior, or triangulated people against others. Story 78. Always running low on gas at the worst time. Running late for work. Better add a couple of minutes to that drive. You have 14 miles left in the tank on a 25-mile drive. Story 79. They always need to use the restroom right before they leave to go somewhere. It's an especially strong urge if they're going to an important place too. Story 80. That, despite their most desperate efforts, they would never be able to rid themselves of this earworm. Shares Believe. The song with the auto-tune. Story 81. Hearing loss means he could hear just enough to realize someone is talking to him, but he could never understand what is being said. Story 82. Every day, morning and night, stepping on a Lego barefoot in the worst way, feeling frustrated because no one in the house has Legos. Story 83. I wish a penny would get sucked into my mother-in-law's vacuum every time she used it. Forget your vacuum, Louise. Story 84. Socks are always slightly damp. The dryer never fully dries them. They believe their socks are dry, but once they go out the door with shoes and socks on, they realize they are still damp. Story 85. Every time he touches a door handle, he gets a shock. Eventually, he will not want to leave his house due to the unexplainable psychological torment. Story 86. Some of the replies here are amusing. I am just thinking about a small pebble embedded in someone's shoe that they can't get rid of all day, every day, in every pair of shoes. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.